Hello, I'm Robbie, and I am a boater, I'm a musician, I make films about travelling round the canal network, and I'm speaking to you from my narrowboat, the Naughty Lass, moored on the Grand Union at the moment, and I want to speak to you today about Canal Boat Diaries Series 5, or Season 5, and we're going to get stuck in some of the behind the scenes on this next series of podcast episodes. It's just a way of adding a little bit extra to what you're watching, because there's so much that we actually have to cut out or simplify. And when I've got this opportunity of just talking to the microphone here and on my boat, I can sit down with you and get a bit more in depth and give away some more secrets. Let's have a look. So we're starting off in episode 1. Very important. We're starting a new series here. Myself, producer Stu, and drone pilot Phil. And we're our first day on the job. I haven't moved the boat for quite a long time. We finished series 4, and I was just hanging around, going up and down the various canals in the Braunston area, trying to evade capture by the Canal and River Trust, who very kindly let us film on the canals, and they didn't take my boat away, which is good. And yeah, so set off from Braunston, and then we go on this crazy journey towards Birmingham. And on this first episode, we get as far as Lapworth, which is just somewhere near Warwickshire, obviously. And we see loads of great scenery along the way, the usual stuff. It's not really changed at all, apart from, I think you get to see a little bit more of how I film these episodes. So we sort of bring you in a little bit, sort of let you peek behind the curtain, as I'm doing right now. I think this is a unique show. I don't know of any other TV shows that are filmed like this. We're using small cameras, as small as possible. Well, most of it is just filmed on my iPhone, and we've got GoPro cameras here and there. Well, we'll talk about this a bit later. I start off with 2 GoPro cameras, and we'll talk about what happens towards the end of the episode, which you hopefully will have seen by now, so we don't want to do any spoilers. So make sure you watch this episode before listening to this. I should have said right at the start. As usual, the whole thing is peppered with this incredible drone photography that Phil is mostly responsible for, and seeing the landscape of one of my favourite villages, Braunston, where we start out, was just adds to the magic of the place. I'm just completely in love with it. I think it looks fantastic. There's a reason why it's so expensive to buy houses there, not too far away from London, and it's just a beautiful place to be. And I don't feel like it's too touristy. There is a hire boat company that's based there. There's a couple of them, I think, and they do very, very well. And it always seems to be room to more up there, which is useful, apart from when the boat rally happens and you have to be careful because you want to avoid moving your boat through Braunston, which is difficult because it is the busiest section on the entire network. So when we start off and straight away we get a traffic jam, it's perfect, because you do want these sort of things to happen right at the start. Otherwise, if nothing happens and you're just pootling along on a boat, it'd be quite boring. So it's nice to have this immediate challenge of trying to negotiate how we're going to turn off with all these other boats waiting to go, and use the Braunston turn, which is where we were heading. And it's right opposite a shop as well, a chandlery. Yeah, so I did spend a while in Braunston, and at the start we talk about the engine oil leak, which may or may not get sorted by the end of the series. I have to just leave that hanging. But yes, after we turn off, we get to see this medieval church, and I want to add a little bit of extra information here, because speaking to all the locals, like I do in researching the area, we do say this old village that was there of Wolfhamcote, the village of Wolfhamcote, was completely wiped out by the Black Death. But I don't know if that is the true story. It's always very difficult to tell with history what is what really happened or not. Because I've also heard that, so the local legend is it was wiped out by the Black Death, but I've also heard it was just the farmer just ploughed over the houses to make more room for his sheep. So that's not a very exciting answer, though, is it? It's not as interesting as the Black Death. And we also say that all that's left. So my line in the voiceover is, all that's left is a lonely medieval church. And what you should know about this church is that you can camp out in that church. So it's not that lonely some nights, because people can book to stay inside overnight. And it's called Champing, so church camping. And I've been inside and seen the setup there. It's really cool. I definitely recommend it. I bet it gets a bit nippy, but yeah, nice place to it is a lonely medieval church, but there's always more to it if you look closely. Next, you see me setting off past another boat, and I make a comment about how if you want speed, we're in the wrong vehicle. And this is a big one that I struggle with a lot. Try to paint the picture to non-boaters, hopefully many of whom will be listening. If you're going to hire a boat, don't expect to go fast, is all I would say. You know, you are in the wrong vehicle. And when you're passing other boats, I do explain you should pass at the slowest speed, but I don't say why, because there wasn't enough time to keep that all in. You've got to simplify these things, you see. But yeah, the reason why is that many boats will be moored. I mean, it's annoying. Number one, it's annoying when a boat goes past you really quickly. It gets your back up. You know, you're not going to make any friends by doing that. But the real reason is it can rip out the mooring pins. You've seen, if you're familiar with mooring up a boat, sometimes you have to get out a metal stake and drive it into the ground with a lump hammer and then tie up onto that. Well, there's a lot of boats are speeding past. There's a lot of physics going on there. There's a lot of water displacement. The boats are being pulled backwards and forwards. And eventually, it's happened to me several times, one of the pins comes out and you either end up losing it in the canal because it can be just wound around, or hopefully it's got a loop in it, you know, a little metal loop in so you can stop from losing it. But yeah, they do come out, and then that's the whole boat covering the whole of the canal, like that Ever Given ship. Just completely Ever Givening across the canal, and yeah, it stops any other boats from getting past. So yeah, it might save time to speed up, but yeah, you're going to end up with that problem at some point. Anyway, that out of the way, because that's an important issue if you're a boater. So I'm doing this for all the boaters out there who will shake their fists at any speeding that goes on. So yeah, just stick to about 2 miles per hour or tick over speed. That is the best. Then you see me waxing lyrical, or waxing, well, with some hard wax oil onto my worktops in the kitchen. And that's in the last couple of years that's happened, that wooden top in my kitchen. I think it looks fantastic. But it does, you can leave rings, can't you? If you leave a wet saucepan on it or something like that, yeah, you just end up leaving dark rings on it. So in this, I give it a bit of a waxing. And I just want you to know the line that I say, because I know a lot of you will be picking this up. The line is, I've just got to avoid touching it for a few hours, just so you know. Yeah, I understand the humour there. But it's not that kind of show. But yeah, I can hear lots of people going, way, when I say that. The first locks we go through, funnily enough, everyone was really grumpy. And I think they got a little bit fed up with me, because when I go through a lock, it does take me a bit longer. Having to set up the cameras, having to wait for the drone to be in position, all that sort of stuff. You can't just, it's not as it appears on TV, you know, it takes a bit of time to get into position. And sometimes I have to sometimes I have to do the locks twice. Not refilling the water twice, we avoid doing that. But winding up the paddles and opening and shutting gates, those sort of things do get done several times. So the people waiting for us who are on holiday, trying to make the most of their holiday, they were not particularly happy with us. I think they were having a bad day, let's just say that. Pretty soon, we come to one of the worst things that we could possibly hope for. It's our first day of filming. We need all the footage we can get. It's one of the most important days. because we haven't got anything yet. So we need to get as much as possible. We've got 2 GoPro cameras, and then suddenly one goes missing. That's the whole first day's footage gone, because it's the end of the day, end of our first day filming. Each of these episodes takes about 5, 6, 7 days. It could take longer depending on the weather. And yeah, so that's it. We've immediately just lost all the footage from one of the cameras. It's a head in the hands moment. My producer Stu's in the boat just going, what? You know, he searched everywhere. We even got our gloves on, went through all the hedge rows to try and see if it slipped in there somehow. And the only thing left was it could have just fallen in the canal, even though none of us heard it plop in. You usually do when something drops in. And because we lost so much footage, I thought, right, I'll take one for the team. And I said to the other guys, I said, look, you stand by, I'm going to jump in, and we'll film that, and then there we go. We've at least got some extra footage. So don't find the camera. You know, I only find a couple of rusty old implements. Like I think one of them may have been a wrench of some sort, or even a windlass, but very, very rusty. And it's just me just in my flip-flops. I don't recommend this, by the way, jumping in and doing this. Absolutely don't recommend it. But yeah, desperate times, desperate measures. I'll tell you a bit about dating and about how a short distance relationship can turn into a long distance relationship. Well, I forgot to say, that doesn't apply if you've got a boat in a marina. Of course it doesn't apply. So apologies to any boaters who live in a marina and I've just made your relationships more difficult. I didn't mean for that. I was hoping to make the other person realise the challenge a bit more and how special it is that we're the times that you do get to meet up. Anyway, so we're going on to a place called Long Itchington after that, and this is the site of Warwickshire's largest village duck pond. And I just thought it'd be funny to tell you how many times it took to actually get that, because whenever you watch something on TV, you just see that, don't you? But you never realise, you don't think how long does that take to actually do that shot. Well, that took me a good hour and a half, walking up and down the main road. There's cars driving past. I got spotted by a couple of people who wanted to say hello, and there was ducks that wanted to get involved. So it took a lot longer. And I just getting the lines right. I think presenters who do this sort of thing professionally, I think they're amazing. Because remember, I'm just a bloke on a boat who knows how to wield an iPhone. That's all. You know, I made YouTube videos to get where I am today. I had to make a few YouTube videos, but I don't have any sort of formal presenting training. So I give it up to those guys who can actually do it, learn all their lines and everything. Because I do get fed tidbits of information. All the research that we all put together is all on a piece of paper, and I have to try and memorise that, and I don't always do the best job at that. Music. I'm really chuffed this series I get a music credit. That hasn't happened before. And I know some of my friends have been really sort of up in arms about it. I mean, it's just really nice to have. I love, obviously I've got my name on the credits anyway, and that's always a bit of a thing. You know, you want to be involved in the project. There's a lot of people on those credits that I've never even met. And I guess they like the show enough to want to be involved in it, which is really cool. But for me, yeah, getting the music credit, that is a massive thing for me. And we show a little sequence of me cleaning Tune's Corner and playing the bass really badly. And then immediately followed by a song that wasn't mine. But, you know, about 40% of the songs that you hear will be one of mine. They're slightly lower in the mix, and they've got a few synths normally or beats attached to them. So yeah, one of the tracks we hear in the episode is called Relaxed Agents, if you want to look that up. And there's usually Windy Biscuits, that's the main one that I'm known for. Saltersford Canal, this is where I met a group of boaters. I was a bit reticent about it because I'm on a job. The next day I know I've got to go up through Hatton Lock Flight, which is 21 locks. I know it's going to be hot and it's going to be a lot of work. And now I've got like a meeting with boaters, and when I sort of met up with them and took my keg of beer along as a present, they were all already on the drink, and they all already well on their way, and they can put them away. I had to actually sneak off early so that I could actually get some sleep ready for the next day. Even though, obviously, on the cut we have to show walking around the local area. It just makes sense to do it in that order. But yeah, the very next day after having that little meet up, I was 7:30 up in the morning and headed out for the locks. And what a set of locks that was! It was so much fun because I was dreading a little bit that I'd have to do it all on my own. But I buddied up with another boater who was a very experienced boater called Sylvia, and she's for 82. She looks fantastic, and she was just such a positive person. Really appreciated what she was doing. She knew that she didn't have much time left on the boat, really, I think. But all the reasons she had been doing what she'd been doing was the sort of same reasons I'd been doing it. So it was so interesting to meet someone who's just from another corner of life, you know. But yeah, so she tied onto the boat. She was a really good driver. And of course, we have to show the bit where she bumps into the side of the lock. So sorry, Sylvia, we had to do that. I don't edit this, okay? I don't choose how the clips are edited. And you see my questionable fashion choice of my cut-off shirt. I mean, maybe it'll take on, I don't know. Get out your old Oxford shirts and just rip the sleeves off. It was just really hot that day, so I was like, right, it's quite frayed anyway. Right, let's get the arms off. Let's go for it. Let's crank it. Then we've got a bit that I'd say in the diary chat bit, about being off-grid. I just think that's open to debate, isn't it? Because every now and then, so off-grid means you don't have to have anything connecting you to the grid, you know, any wires or pipes of any sort. But every now and then I do have to connect to either a water hose, a hose pipe that I carry around with me, but yeah, hose pipe to fill up my water tank, or yeah, when I get my toilet pumped out, that's also attaching a hose of sorts. So yeah, I think mostly off grid because I make my own power, but I do still rely on the facilities that are on grid. So yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting one to think about. What do you think? Let me know. You can reach me through, well, probably Facebook, probably the best. I've got a Facebook page, Robbie Cumming's Canal Boat Diaries, so you can get me through there. Or Instagram, that's another one. Right. So yeah, any questions you've got, please do ask through there and I'll try and answer them. Tunnel light is the next bit we talk about. It's going through Shrueley Tunnel. Only 400 yards, so I wasn't too worried at all. And I was just missing the tunnel light. I should have actually put it on a bit earlier, but because I've had the cratch cover taken down to really get in there and work at the rusty bits that we'll hopefully solve later on in the series. You will see if you haven't seen it yet already. But yeah, the tunnel was actually quite interesting, and it was a little bit wet. I wasn't expecting to get any sort of moisture dropping down on me, but yeah, I got a little bit of a soaking, and I think it's actually normally worse, that one. I think it's a bit of a wet walnut. I've got a correction for you. Sort of, because I've said a lot of my friends are already on the property ladder. I think that makes it seem like it's probably, if I put all my friends together, old school friends I've got now, I think that's probably a bit of a wild estimate. It's probably more like 50-50. And we're all similar ages, 40s and maybe 50s as well, and obviously younger. Just really difficult to even think about how you're going to get a house. So this whole series I wouldn't be on a boat if it wasn't for the fact I couldn't afford a house, I suppose, because that's how I started. That's how I discovered this whole culture, this whole lifestyle, which I wouldn't swap now. But I certainly would love to buy up a lock cottage. That's the dream for every boater, though. Really, just so darn expensive. Yeah, nice little cottage by the canal with a little mooring on the end. That'd be great. But yeah, as I said in the previous podcast, I've got my dreams of all kinds of things that I'd love to do that involving buying some land. But yeah, it's just the housing epidemic. It just goes to show, isn't it? I've made 5 television series. I still can't afford a house. I'm saving up for perhaps another boat to add to this one. I'll get a fleet of boats going, or perhaps I'll invest in some land. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm saving up at the moment, and I'm very much enjoying still living on Narrowboat Naughty Lass. That's about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and on the next one I'll be talking about the next episode of season 5. Episode 2 is the next one, so hopefully you'll join me then. Otherwise, you can catch it on the UK TV Play app, which is available for free. All you have to do is sit through a few adverts whilst you're watching, and that's it. You've got the whole of the series on there for free. So brilliant. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you again next time. Keep cracking.